Welcome to the Darkstream. VoxDay, VoxDay.blogspot.com, Infogalactic News. You know, it's easy to get frustrated with the God Emperor. It's easy to get upset when he takes his time. It's easy to get upset and annoyed or irritated when, he always takes that first step of trying to reach out, negotiate, and accommodate. Okay? This is something that both Ann Coulter and Mike Cernovich and some other people who have, long supported Trump have a tendency to forget. I'm not criticizing them for doing that. I completely understand why people do that, because I think exactly what they're thinking. I retweeted one of Ann Coulter's tweets where she was basically, complaining about Trump and that sort of thing. And the thing is that, like I was reminding people during the election, during the campaign, is that Trump is first and foremost a negotiator. Trump almost always gives his opponents the opportunity to avoid a fight. All right? That's what he does. That's his standard method. Basically, and this is something that you need to understand about him. This is something that he does every single time. Every single time he puts out his hand and he says, look, let's cooperate. Let's meet halfway. And then after he gets spurned, he grabs their wrist, he pulls them in, and he punches them in the face. That's what he does. He did it with Congress. He did it with the Obama stuff. He is always giving people the opportunity to work with him. You're right. He did it with his initial staff hiring. And, it drives his supporters crazy. If I had not recognized the pattern, I probably would have been upset too. Why isn't he doing this? Why isn't he doing that? And the reason is, he's not trying to make them perceive him as naive. He understands something very basic. He understands Sun Tzu. I am absolutely willing to bet that he has read The Art of War more than once. Because what he is always doing is he is always attempting to win a victory without conflict. It is always better to win without conflict. The greatest generals are able to win without going to battle. And so what he is doing is he's attempting to win a victory without conflict. What he's attempting to do is he is attempting to negotiate and reach a middle ground. It was very interesting. And here's the thing, and just so you understand that I'm not, this is not Monday morning quarterbacking or anything. If you notice, I didn't make any statements or I didn't make any comments about this I didn't talk about it in a dark stream. I didn't post anything about it. I didn't tweet anything about it. The only thing I do was retweet Coulter's frustrated tweet. Just because I think that it is, important for people to understand that, yes, people are frustrated. The reason is that I know that Trump always takes his time before responding. The thing that is kind of funny is that the left talks about him as if he's always going off half-cocked. That's absolutely untrue. He almost always bides his time. He almost always waits and then takes a shot when he thinks it's the right time. So, and this is what's a little bit frustrating. It's a little bit frustrating to me that I have to keep reminding you guys this. Stop panicking. Stop freaking out. When something happens, when they're declaring the alt-right dead, when they're declaring the brand is finished, when they're doing all this stuff, they are almost always going to be wrong. The alt-right brand is as officially toxic and dead as gamers are. Okay? They're always, the thing is, I'm a gamer-gator. So I have been through over a year of the media just completely pushing a false narrative, talking about how gamers are dead, games are dead, blah blah blah. All right, all that is magical thinking, magical talking, attempting to create reality. And so, now the thing you have to keep in mind is that there's a reason why, for example, people like Trump or people like Mike and Ann are often wrong about Trump, is because they are experts in the conventional media cycle. All right? There's nobody who understands the media cycle better than Mike and Ann and some of those folks. Okay? And so the alt-right is stained. You need to rebrand. If not, you're finished. Want to bet? The alt-right is inevitable. It doesn't matter if Richard Spencer straps on explosives, walks into a kindergarten, and detonates it and kills 5,000 kindergartners. Even that would not be enough to slow the alt-right down for it would maybe slow things down for 3 weeks. Okay? I'm pointing out that all this stuff is petty. Is absolutely petty. Look, we have been through this before. Do you remember when Anders Breivik went and set off that bomb and killed the bureaucrats downtown, and then went and shot up that Utoya Island? Okay? Do you remember what everybody said then? Nationalism is dead. This will set the cause of nationalism back 10 years, blah, blah, blah. What did I say? I said, no, nationalism is going to be more popular and stronger than ever. Sure enough, even in Norway, the nationalist vote increased. All right? Think about it. Look at all of the murderous, terrible, horrible attacks that have taken place by Muslims. Okay? Does that even slow down their momentum? Not at all. ISIS, committed horrible, horrible acts on purpose. None of this stuff is going to make the slightest bit of difference. These are small events. These are petty events. They're very minor events, and it doesn't matter. Trump was pronounced finished over 30 times that people kept track of. Probably more. All right? All of this stuff is it's wishful thinking by the media. It's magical thinking. It is an attempt to talk a new reality into existence. I don't believe that there were any agent provocateurs in Charlottesville. I mean, in the leadership, there may have been more. The alt-right is an identity movement, but identity is only part of it. And the alt-right is of appeal to many identities. Okay? The alt-right is an identity movement, but more than anything, as an identity movement, it opposes globalism. And yes, the word Nazi does mean something. Nazism is National Socialism. And here, do you want me to completely blow your minds now? Do you want me to explain something to you that will fundamentally shake your grasp of history? Okay, how many of you think that National Socialism is something that is intrinsically related to German Teutonic supremacy, a historical movement in the 1930s and 1940s? How many of you understand that that's what National Socialism is? Right, that's what everybody thinks. That's what everybody assumes. Okay? Now, would you be surprised to know that National Socialism is actually the governing party in multiple nations today? I'm not talking about, exaggerating and calling Republicans Nazis or Democrats Nazis. Who can tell me what countries are currently governed by National Socialist parties? No, none of those. None of those. None of those. None of those. Nobody's even close. Nobody's even close. Okay. Are you ready? Are you ready for the answers? Nobody got it. Still nothing. Still nothing. Okay. Anyhow, let me explain. There are several National Socialist parties. The chief of which, they're not actually governing right now. They got voted out of power. But one of the two major parties in Taiwan is a National Socialist party called the Kuomintang. There is also a National Socialist party in Spain that represents the Basque region. But the main National Socialist parties are in the Middle East. Saddam Hussein is a National Socialist, as is, I believe, I'm not totally sure, but basically all of the, I don't know how to pronounce it, all of the Ba'athist parties. All of the Ba'athist parties are formally National Socialist parties. Okay? No. I mean National Socialist parties. Look, what was the full name of the Nazi Party? It wasn't just National Socialist, it was the National Socialist German Workers' Party. National Socialism is an ideology that was adopted by the Arabs. The Arabs were actually very impressed by German National Socialism, and a number of these parties officially adopted National Socialism. Okay? Now, so what you have, for example, the German Nazis were pan-Germans. The Baathists are pan-Arabs. They think that all Arabs should be in one big nation. They're secular. They're not Muslim. I mean, they are, many of them are Muslims, but the party is socialist. And so, no, they're not nationalistic and socialistic. They are literally National Socialists. Okay? They are simply an Arab flavor of National Socialism. And this is why you have to understand that saying that the alt-right is just a white nationalist thing is a failure to understand the difference between political philosophy and a political party. Okay? So so what you need to understand is that there is the potential for the alt-right to become popular philosophies in many different countries. That is why the alt-right has appeal to people in China. The alt-right has appeal to people in Japan. Just today, the New York Times published an article saying that Japan needs immigration. So Japan is under attack by the globalists. Well, what political philosophy has the most sophisticated and effective response to the globalists? It's the alt-right. And so when you see these guys running around saying, the alt-right is nothing but white nationalism or Nazism or blah, 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 it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's a reason why Chinese people translated the 16 points of the alt-right into Chinese, because it appeals to them. Okay? The people that are talking about how there cannot be an alt-right, an Israeli alt-right, or there cannot be a Chinese alt-right, or so forth. The reason is that they don't understand the magnitude of their vision. No, the alt-right is not, that's my whole point. The alt-right is not National Socialist. The alt-right is not socialist at all. Literally in the very first point, it says socialism is not, the alt-right does not support socialism. National Socialism is a form of socialism. There is nothing right-wing about National Socialism except for its nationalism. There is no leader of the alt-right. There can be no leader of the alt-right. Who is the leader of Stoicism? Who is the leader of nihilism? Who is the leader of all these philosophies? You don't have a leader of a philosophy, because a philosophy is merely a mode of thought. Anyone who thinks in that way is, can be considered a leader. I know, obviously Spencer is trying to own the title. Spencer's a media whore. We all know that. Okay? Spencer is trivial. You know, why do you think he's always running around dancing for the cameras? He's not a bad guy, but he wants to run a think tank. That's it. That's what he wants to do. And so, you know, he can publicly speak. He can lead whatever little movement he wants to do, and that's fine. I'm not going to do it. It's not going to happen. No interest in it. But the reality is that the political philosophy of the alt-right is vastly bigger than whatever the first alt-right party happens to be. You know? And somebody was saying, yeah, the alt-right, the alt-right is basically a philosophical framework. You know, you can have a party called the alt-right Party of America, the alt-right Party of Venezuela, the same way that you have the National Socialist Party of Iraq, the National Socialist Party of Taiwan, the National Socialist Party of Syria. Okay? This is why it's important to understand the philosophical framework and not to confuse it for a political movement or a political party. And that's why I say that the alt-right is inevitable. Will Cernovich and PJW ever come around? I think so. I think it's, you know, it's always difficult for people, it's always difficult for civic nationalists to accept the realities of identity when they are subject to identity complications in their own life. I understand that. I have identity complications. You know, there's a reason why, people are, attack me using various American Indian slurs. I don't really care, but you know, those things exist, and it's fine. You know, but you know, it's not a. They should not be criticized or condemned for these things, especially when you know they have identity complications. All right? It is going to be, I mean, you have to understand that if things go the way that we expect them to go, it is going to be absolutely traumatic and horrific, especially for those people who have close relationships that cross the lines. Okay? I know people here in Europe who went through this in Yugoslavia. What do you do? What do you do when you are, a Croat married to a Serb, a Bosnian married to a Croat? What do you do when the killers come and they're dragging off the Croats? But see, that's what you say. You say, who cares? The people who are potentially subject to that. That is something that they cannot think about. That is something that they cannot imagine. They cannot bear to imagine. And I don't blame them. Okay? Americans are the next ones to go through this process. You're not American. There are over 100 million people resident in the United States who are not Americans. Identity matters. Now, obviously, not all identities are going to be. Not all identities are going to be at war with each other. you know? And that's actually a good point. One kid's dad cut him off from the family just because of the rally. Imagine what it's going to be like when the identity wars start. You know, and here's the thing. We do not know, and we cannot know, where the lines are going to be drawn. No, America is not about individual. You're just stupid. Go read Cuckservative and then come back and talk to us. I have no idea who Jason Girani is. I have no opinion, and I don't care. Yes, America is probably going to have a civil war. If we're lucky, it'll just be, balkanization and partition, but most likely, So anyhow, all I'm saying is that you need to be sympathetic to people who are in situations that could be complicated when things fall apart. No, I calculated, I think back in 2004, I calculated that 2033 would probably be the year that that we would see some sort of collapse, breakdown, etc., etc. So we'll see. But anyhow, let's get back to it. Not everything is gloom and doom, because we have I've already written about this many times. You want to look, there's literally 16,000 posts on my blog. If you're interested in this stuff, just search the blog. It's on there. So, anyhow, we have the God Emperor. He is bolder than most of us think. He is stronger than most of us think. And so, there is always hope. There is always hope. All right? Nothing is absolutely certain. And so I think that what I would encourage you to do, I'm gonna wrap it up here. What I would encourage you to do is be patient. Don't react. The day that something happens, the first thing that you should tell yourself is wait 2 days. Wait 2 days. Let the immediate media cycle blow up and wait 2 days. Instead of getting all wrapped up in things yourself, settle down and observe what everybody is doing and what everybody is saying. That's what I do. I'm not interested in expressing my own immediate reaction, especially when I have no idea what's going on. Just wait, observe, analyze, and then see what happens. And so, what Trump did is exactly the same thing that he's been doing all along. So, anyhow, but now, now that you've been through that process, just remember it. Remember this the next time Trump does something, or something happens, and Trump does not immediately react the way that you would like him to, or that you think he should. Just be patient, wait a few days, the issue is going to be addressed. I was pretty confident that something like this was going to happen, because his statement was very clear. His first statement was talking about the KKK and Nazis. Well, criticizing the KKK and Nazis is about the easiest thing possible. And so he was not doing what they wanted, and of course he even pointed that out when he said, hey, you said you wanted a statement criticizing, the crazies. I gave you a statement criticizing crazies. And of course that's not enough. You're fake news. And so he knows. So have confidence. in President Trump. Don't react to all the media wishful thinking stories. Don't react to the fake news. You know, this is going to turn out to be so very different than everybody said in the first 2 days. It wouldn't even surprise me if the kid in the car ends up not ever going to trial. So, but we'll get into that some other time. Don't get triggered. Triggered is a state for the left, for Antifa, for the SJWs, for the alt-left. So, have a good evening, and we'll see you soon.